This is a Kitchen Sink WP podcast episode 424.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 104 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. Sadly, no WordCamps, but there are more on the calendar. Stay tuned for that in the next few weeks and months. And as a quick reminder, we're having a meetup. I'm having a meetup here in Raleigh area on the 20th of April. It's in a week and a half. So if you're in the area, if you want to come on by, let me know. I have a guest room. All right. Also, in case you missed it, WordPress.org hosted a Zoom call showing WordPress version 6.0, a walkthrough over on Zoom. It was kind of a, I guess the members of the release squad and core contributors did this about the major features coming. It was recorded. It's on WordPress.tv. I will put a link to that in the show notes. And that is it for upcoming and or past events. So that was, I'm not sure when that was. Was it just last week? I think it was, I don't know the actual date. It was last week. Yes. Anyway, all right, moving on. Segment 1 in the news. Only one thing here, kind of a light news week. WordPress 5.9.3 maintenance release was put out into the wild. This had 9 bug fixes in core and 10 bug fixes in the block editor. And if you have that auto update turned on your system, it probably already happened. So there you go. That's it in the news. Yeah, that's it in the news. Light news week. So, all right, on to the meat and potatoes. But before that, a word from our sponsor this week. Once again, WP Wallet is our sponsor. Now, if you're looking for a way to never miss a license renewal, to know when every plugin and theme is up for renewal and how much it's going to cost your clients or yourself, easy to do that with WP Wallet. Also, what about the ability to never lose a license key? You know, having it at different places and whatnot. Every license key for every plugin, every theme, every client in one easy to use and manage dashboard. No matter how many times you think you remember to send the invoice, wouldn't it also be nice for premium offerings to just have it in one simple place? Never struggle with the invoicing. Consolidate all the client invoices, every plugin again, every theme, and all the other things that are connected to that client. You can get payments via Stripe or PayPal. WP Wallet has a forever free plan for 3 sites. That's right, forever free. Manage 3 sites with unlimited team members and invoicing. Great for you freelancers. With a few clients or larger agencies like myself, we can go and upgrade to a pro level for unlimited sites for $10 a month. It's a great deal. So you can scan the sites instantly for premium plugins. Their proprietary database includes hundreds of premium plugins with pricing assigned automatically. If it's not right because you have a lifetime deal, you can edit that as well. Pretty easy to do, like I said last week. So say goodbye to the headache of tracking license keys and getting reimbursed for all your annual fees once and for all. Say hello to WP Wallet. For more information and to sign up, head over to WPWallet.com. And thanks again for sponsoring this week's episode of the podcast. And now on to the meat and potatoes of this week's episode. White labeling, why, how, and a little update about my situation. So this week I'm talking about white labeling, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast in the past, but it's been 8.5 years, and I couldn't find that I did an actual entire episode about it. So with that, first and foremost, let's define what it means here, the situation. So in the WordPress space, there are 2 different types of white labeling, in my opinion. The first being the use of a premium plugin and theme that you can remove those names. You can hide them in a way, giving your client a custom UI, UX experience, and an appearance. They may not even know it's WordPress altogether. Okay, so like you can white label certain levels of plugins or themes like Beaver Builder. They would never know it's Beaver Builder. You would just change it to a no name or your own company's name type of interface. The other thing that I'm talking about today is where another agency has hired you to perform and act in their in-house development team. It's to not confuse the client. Again, it's a perception, interaction, and an experience issue here. So let's start then with why. Why would you as an agency owner want to do this? Well, less selling and less marketing. The other agency, the bigger agency, they do the heavy lifting. They sourced the client, they sold the client the project, and they're just bringing you the work. It's no different than you being an employee of the company for the most part, with a new client, a new project, and you guys get to work. Your agency does the actual development part of the project. Now, how to find these opportunities? Business networking. Really, larger audiences, larger agencies, than your current situation. So my agency, we have 5 people. I do the sales and prospecting. I have a developer, I have a PM, I have a QA, and I have a content person and a designer, right? So in my situation though, they actually found me via LinkedIn. And they were in a situation where they had an in-house developer, but was leaving, and they needed help in a timely fashion since they couldn't find a replacement within time of that person giving notice. So they found me on LinkedIn, and it was pretty cool. More about that in a minute there. So things to have in place if you're going to white label. So this is things I've learned in the process of all of this. And I have white labeled in the past before, but it's been a while. So clearly defined ways of communication. Are you going to use email? Sure, that could work. It gets a little messy if it's a lot of email over a lot of different projects, but it can be okay. Ticketing system, we use Freshdesk. Is that right? Yeah, I use Freshdesk for my email, for my ticketing support. And that works if it's an ongoing white labeling where you're doing specific support tickets only, not bigger projects. Okay, so there's that. And then there's also project management. You're going to use theirs or yours, or a combination of the two. So again, it comes down to communication and agreed upon methods. And just full disclosure, we use all 3 of those. We get email because we actually we get an email from them. We also have actually gotten text messages and urgent requests. And there's a Google Sheet now as well because they signed up for a 10-hour retainer until they hire someone new, which we'll talk about that in a second. So again, it just needs to be communicated how you're going to agree upon methods of communication. That's a lot of a mouthful there, but you get the gist. All right. That leads to expectations and the timelines and deadlines. Now, my opinion, you need to treat them as you would with any other client. They are the client. The agency in question is the client. The project is they own that, and that's the bigger piece of it, if you will. So it's kind of that trickle down, right? Project is their client. They are your client, and then you doing the work on the back end. Okay, financials here, money. Question always comes up, do you charge less? I say yes. And the question is, well, why? Well, due to the fact that, again, they own the client. They did the sale, they did doing discovery, etc. Now, I still require deposit and payments depending on the size of the project and milestones. If it's a smaller project, we do 50-50. 50 to start, 50 to end when we're done. Also, make sure that your payment is not contingent on them getting paid. Okay. I mean, you did the work, you need to get paid, even if they didn't. That said, my process is slightly tweaked there. We get a request if we're available for the project, if it's in our wheelhouse. I send over an estimate and a SOW, a scope of work, via FreshBooks. They sign that, and then once they sign it, I then send over a request for a deposit of 50% of the overall project. Okay. When the project is done, the balance is due, no matter what. That's it. And I say this with full respect, but there's been some times where we did something for them recently, an emergency little thing, and I think we did 3 or 4 hours worth of work. We got paid, but then the client, the actual website client part of it, not the other agency, decided to go a different direction. Didn't matter. We still did the work. We still got paid. It was totally fine. So again, they may hold off on paying that deposit until they get their project signed on their end. And that's fine because we've done no work yet. So again, I just don't want it to be a total waiting game forever. If we've done the work, we expect to get paid whether it gets used or not. Okay. So a couple of things to consider when someone reaches out and asking if they can white label my services. I oddly get hit up about half a dozen times a year. And more often than not, it's not a good fit. And I know right away. It's due to the fact that I know the person asking doesn't quite understand the business, in my opinion, and they're not charging enough that they can afford me. They're in the $50 to $75 an hour range. I think they see big numbers. They think I can go sell a website for $1,000 and they want to pay me $50 an hour to build it, and that's not going to work, or they just don't quite get it. So they're, in my opinion, they're also usually really young. And again, they're looking for a quick little turnkey thing. I then politely offer them the opportunity to do sales for me, and I'll give them a hefty, commission. Within a specific niche, we can monetize that, but it doesn't really work, and they typically decline that. So, and I get it. I've been in that role as well, way back. Lastly, this last year, about 6 months ago, I've had 2 agencies reach out to me. One of them had the intention of offloading about 40 to 50 sites for basic maintenance, which we were more than willing to help with. They were on a decent hosting plan. They just it didn't make sense for them to manage them internally, apparently, at the time. But they are a really large agency, And it was kind of like moving a shipping container. It just never happened. And I don't know whatever happened with that. I reached out a few times and then I moved on. I don't harp on people. It would have been nice from a monthly business perspective for revenue, but it didn't happen. The other agency is the one that I am doing work for. They are a marketing company specifically focusing on nonprofits. And within that offer for marketing, they offer web development in their business model. They reached out, like I said, through LinkedIn. I had 3 calls with them, and I knew right away this was going to be a good fit. Their CEO and I finally spoke on the phone, and we actually ran into each other at REI a few weeks back, and we have very similar business philosophies, our approach to client work, our communication styles, and they charge enough in their offer to cover my white label rate. Yes, I lowered my rate for them because it just makes sense. Okay, so everyone makes money. So that said, how's it going? Well, it's interesting. It's going really well with a caveat. We have about 5 SOWs signed. We've done some emergency work for them, like I said in the past, a couple of months ago, to step in and solve some issues on short notice. And a few of the signed SOWs have been delayed due to their clients, as it happens. People get excited, but then, delays happen with content or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, it's, they're actually decided to bring in a full-time developer as it's more cost-effective for them. So that said, I actually helped interview that person. Yes, I did. Why, you ask? It's crazy. Why would I want to hire someone? Why would I want to interview someone to help them and take away work from me? Well, I understand their position. It's expensive to outsource. It's less profitable for them. From the longer picture, they just don't make enough to keep doing it from their business model. And I get it. My agency will still be available to help them with any overflow and for any for-profit projects they get, because they don't do any for-profit work. Companies that are for profit, if that makes sense. So Q1 and Q2 financially, we're going to be fantastic. It's been nice. It's been a bump in income. Q3, moving on from Q3 to Q4, will likely be less work from them, but it's okay. I have other projects and other things that I want to do and other new domains I need to go buy. So there you have it. A little take on being a white labeled agency for another agency. I think it's interesting, little meta verse there. So if you have any more questions on that, or if you want to share your experience with being a white labeled service, by all means, let me know. So, all right, moving on, segment 3, tip until the week. This one is a website called WP LiveStreamsDirectory.com. It's a place you can go to and see what is being out there. Find, watch, and engage with the WordPress community through online live streams. It's free as far as I can tell. Check it out. WPLivestreamsDirectory.com. I thought it was kind of neat. And that is it for this week. Let me go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any questions, go ahead and send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use the speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon, KitchensinkWP.com/Patreon. Thanks again to WP Wallet for sponsoring this week's episode. If you want to be just like them and sponsor the show, there's a form on their website. We'd love to have you. Thanks for listening. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, see you next week. Bye-bye.